This is all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. I am Beth and I'm going to be talking about Carlos Baleba. Is he going to be the premium third midfield signing? Premium, the word that is being used. We'll get into updates on Carlos Baleba. Or would it be Alex Scott? Who is better suited to the third midfielder role? Also, Fabrizio Romano has given an update on what type of midfielder Manchester United will be working on as their third midfield signing. Someone more defensive. And could it be someone just completely out of the blue behind the scenes, or will it be someone who we've been linked to, who we have had transfer updates on?
Manu Koné, Manchester United. I gave you yesterday the information. Today I say his name. I saw his name everywhere. Yesterday before the game, I came here and I told you, watch out on Manchester United because they are not done in midfield. They signed Andre Santos, they signed Yuri Tielemans, Ederson is not happening, Ederson is 100% off, so there is no chance to revisit the deal or to try again. That's absolute bullshit. The reality is that Manchester United are looking at a defensive midfielder and Manu Koné is one of the names on the list. They had a phone contact with the agents of the player. The relationship between the agents of the player and Manchester United is an excellent relationship. As of today, Roma are yet to receive any formal approach from Man United. So Man United didn't send a bid, Man United didn't make any approach yet to Roma, we have to wait. It's also true that Man United this summer had a different attitude on the market compared to what happened in the past. In the past they were quite slow in the negotiations, taking some time, weeks, maybe months. This summer they go, bid and get the player. For Yuri Tielemans, release close. For Andre Santos, Chelsea asked for 50, you offer 48 plus 2, the deal is getting done. So United have been quite fast. For Manu Koné, I saw some reports of 80 millions, 90 millions. That's not the price of Manu Koné. Manu Koné is expensive, but it's not 80 or 90 millions. So it's less than this. And so Manchester United took information on the player, then they have to decide, because they have several names on the shortlist, and they will make their decisions on who is the player they want to sign as a defensive midfielder, taking some time, because in the space of 6-7 days, they got Andre Santos, they got Tielemans, they want to take some time before going for the next midfielder, a defensive one.
Going to get my glasses on for this one because I also have some stats when it comes to Alex Scott and Carlos Baleba to compare the two players as well. Get your comments in. There's been a lot of talk regarding Carlos Baleba over the last 24 hours. Now, last summer, I was a die-hard Baleba. I was, because he had an incredible season. However, this season, I watched Baleba on multiple occasions and thought to myself, he's not ready to be a Manchester United player. I mean, he was getting benched by 36-year-old James Milner. And I think James Milner is a fantastic servant of the Premier League, and it once upon a time was a top player. But come on now. He was getting hooked left, right and centre. You know, he was getting dropped to the bench. When he was playing, he didn't play very well. When he played at Old Trafford, which was his audition, I thought he was really poor. And I don't think he's anywhere near the price tag that Brighton have put on his head, which is, when we don't know an actual price tag, all we know is that it's above £75 million, which is way too much for what he's currently bringing to the table. If it was off the back of the season that he had before last season, so the 24-25 season, I was all there for it because he was absolutely immense. However, it's worrying how his form can completely drop off a cliff. I know there's some Brighton fans who have spoken to me. I know there's some big Baleba fans out there who say it was more about the way Brighton played last season that didn't really suit him, and also people talk about him not getting the Manchester United move, having an effect on him, and, you know, Brighton themselves, you know, played in a slightly different way, and he didn't adapt to it in the best possible way. But to me, that's a lot of excuses. If you're a good player, you're a good player, and you need to be performing well on a consistent basis. And look, he's definitely shown glimpses in the past that there is talent there. There is absolutely talent there with Baleba, but I don't think he's ready for the price tag that he demands now to be a star at Manchester United. I worry about multiple different red flags, handling the pressure, handling the scrutiny, you know, the consistency. There's loads of different areas where I do get worried about that signing, but Man United last summer went for him for a reason. And the reason they went for him was because the data team put his numbers through and they found him to be the best midfielder to partner Kobe Mainoo. We are looking for a defensive partner to Kobe Mainoo. We are looking for a defensive partner to Yuri Tielemans. I see Kobe Mainoo and Yuri Tielemans playing sort of the same role. So I don't see Tielemans and Manu necessarily starting together. So you're looking at a defensive midfielder that's going to come in and start quite a few games. Andre Santos is kind of a mix of everything. I'm really excited about Andre Santos. So is it going to be Baleba, yes or no? I think there's a really big chance that we could go in for Baleba towards the back end of the window, test Brighton's resolve, because Man United, if they're going to trust their scouts and trust the data from last season, they could see him as the right defensive option. Alex Scott is a player we'll talk about in a moment. I think he's definitely someone that Manchester United like, and I think he's definitely someone we should like, and he's a fantastic talent, but he's not the out-and-out defensive midfielder that's going to solve Manchester United's defensive problems in that area of the pitch. I think when we went for Youri Tielemans, I said it on the show yesterday, I think Youri Tielemans is a fantastic signing. But to me, that could rule out going for Alex Scott, because as good as Alex Scott is, he's not that defensive monster, which is what you're looking at when you've already brought in Youri Tielemans. You have Kobe Mainoo, you have Bruno Fernandes, and Andre Santos is a good player, can play as a 6 and an 8. But you really want someone that's going to be in there, winning them duels, covering that ground, that defensive monster. And Baleba ticks them boxes more than Alex Scott does, even though, for me, Alex Scott is a much better player currently. So it's an interesting one. A lot of people talking about Manu Koné as well. I know there's a lot of talk on Manu Koné. I've spoken about him multiple times. At the moment, there's not that much heat on Manchester United and Manu Koné. There's not that many links. However, there was literally nothing substantial on Youri Tielemans at all. I don't even think there was anything on Youri Tielemans. I don't even think he was in lists of 10 midfielders United could go for before that news just got dropped by David Ornstein, and it shook the whole of the Manchester United footballing world. Yes, not even just Manchester United, just the footballing world yesterday when United just quickly got that Youri Tielemans signing done. So, maybe we could be working on Manu Koné. Nobody knows about it, but there's not really been any solid links to Manu Koné whatsoever. Romano's not spoken about it. Ornstein's not spoken about it. Ben Jacobs hasn't spoken about it. I think he said he's a player that United could go for, but there was nothing much in there. There's not been anything substantial to suggest Manu Koné, and Manu Koné wasn't in the Athletics deal sheet this morning where they presented the 4 midfielders that they think Manchester United could go for. Granted, Youri Tielemans wasn't in their last deal sheet either. So, Ineos are keeping things under wraps this summer, and I think we can see that we are massively keeping things under wraps. Andre Santos had glimpses. They'd have glimpses that we'd go for Andre Santos previously, but there wasn't anything substantial before Ornstein just dropped that Santos news. And then with Youri Tielemans, there's literally been nothing in that, and then it was just dropped. But in the Athletic deal sheet, they had Sander Berge, who I don't think we'll go for. They had Carlos Baleba. They had Felix Mnecha, who I don't think we'll go for. I think he'll be too expensive. And they also had Alex Scott, who is going to be expensive and maybe doesn't tick all the defensive boxes that we need. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting. Just want to bring in... Oh, interesting. There's some... It's like we manifested this. There's some quotes coming in from David Ornstein, and he said this on Manu Koné. Literally, as I said, we've not had anything substantial from David Ornstein. He said this on Manu Koné to Manchester United. A lot of reporters are suggesting that United are looking at him, and I personally think he would be an excellent signing for a club like Manchester United, but I doubt they will be the only club in his frame. So, not really too much substantial there, but just when we were speaking about Manu Koné, and I know a lot of people like the idea of him as that defensive physical monster, David Ornstein has said that a lot of reporters are suggesting that United are looking at him, and I think he would be an excellent signing. But they won't be the only club in the race for him, is what they're trying to say. He has had links to Arsenal before, Manu Koné. He's also had links to Chelsea before. And it's because he would adapt to the Premier League excellently. I think he's had links to Liverpool at one stage. Physically, he's top. It's just whether the technical side of the game is at the level that we need. But, I mean, he's starting for France in the World Cup. He's playing for an amazing France team in the World Cup. He's definitely a proper quality player and someone who I'd be very, very, very interested in. So that's from David Ornstein on Manu Koné. He's also said this on Carlos Baleba, which fits right into what we're talking about, on why Manchester United haven't signed Carlos Baleba so far. David Ornstein said this: he didn't have a very good season with Brighton last year, and they are weighing up other targets that they think might offer better value for money. Brighton always sell for high prices, and if you're going to pay that sort of fee, are you going to do it for someone who has suffered a slight dip in form? Essentially, we're not signing Carlos Baleba because Brighton want too much money for the season he had last season, and I think that is absolutely fair enough, and I agree with Manchester United's stance. We should not go and pay £75 million, £80 million on a player that was getting benched left, right and centre last season, getting hooked, and isn't at the level required currently. We shouldn't be. As much as his previous stats indicate that he's got a high ceiling, as much as his attributes suit what we need, it would be a huge risk for that sort of money. If someone said, you know what, you probably get him out of Brighton for 40, 50 million because of the season he had, I'd be willing to go and do that deal. I would be, because you think, you know what, if he comes in, there's real potential there to get the best out of him, because he's shown it, and he's obviously got a lot about him, and he's got the attributes that we want. He's got that pace, he's got that power, he is that defensive monster. But based off last season, there's no way we should be paying 75, 80 million pounds, and I think that is the correct stance on Carlos Baleba for Manchester United. He's also said this on Buwadi. He said, Manchester United would love to sign Buwadi. This is from David Ornstein. Manchester United would love to sign Buwadi, but the high asking price and the other targets they are looking at make the deal unrealistic at this stage. We're not signing Buwadi, especially when David Ornstein is quoting that Man City are looking at getting him for €100 million this morning. We're just not paying €100 million for an 18-year-old. We're not. City might be able to do that. I mean, I think they spent £500 million within the year when they brought in Mark Gahey and Antoine Semenyo. Now they've gone again in the summer, and they've gone and got Elliot Anderson for a British record transfer fee, and they're moving for an 18-year-old for €100 million. Like, they've got money come out their ears, and let's see how long they're going to be able to move like that. What I will say is they have had, as much as we do question Man City on the way they spend their money and the money that's there to be spent and the way that they make these deals happen or have done in the past, and, you know, the charges that are hanging over them, which haven't been decided on yet, as much as we can talk about that, they also do have room to spend because of their success year after year after year after year, consistently winning trophies, consistently being in the Champions League, you know, consistently, you know, winning Premier League titles. I know they've not for the last 2 years, but they've constantly been churning out trophies, and they've constantly been in the highest competitions and been in the Champions League. And what they do, which is something Manchester United needs to begin to do, of course we want to integrate as many academy players as possible, and hopefully have academy players coming into our starting 11 and progressing just like the way Kobe Mainoo did. But not every single academy product is going to make it, and they make a lot of money. Man City make a lot of money off selling brilliant academy prospects. They've got one of the best academies in the world, and I don't like to say it because they're our noisy neighbours, but they do. They do. Like, even loads of people United are linked to been in United's academy. Felix Neptune, for instance, been in Man City's academy. Jadon Sancho was in Man City's academy. I know it didn't go according to plan, but he was. Morgan Rogers. I mean, there's so many out there. Cole Palmer, Liam Delap. I mean, there's loads. There's loads of players that have been through the City academy and have been sold on for a decent fee. I mean, they get loads of money in just from even selling like goalkeepers that no one's ever heard of. I saw a goalkeeper go to Southampton for like £18 million at one point, I swear. So City earn a lot of money through their academy. They also have been consistently winning at the highest level. When United begin to do that again, we will be unstoppable in the transfer market. I mean, there always is going to be rules, and we absolutely do have leeways, and we do have a lot of money to spend now because we are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we do turn over a lot of money. But we do have debt. We have had years of inconsistency when it comes to winning and being in the biggest competitions and being in Europe.